City Index report is a work that we have been doing now for a couple of years, where we are looking at urban development. And in more particular, we're looking at urban development and the relation with information and communication technology. So the City Index basically pictures cities in their development on the triple bottom line, meaning social, economic and environmental performance, and relating that to the performance or the maturity, to be more precise, the maturity that they have on ICT, information and communication technology. In this year's report we have basically the same set of data like we had last year, and that makes it possible to compare. And when we compare, there's lots of good and interesting things you can see, but I think maybe the most compelling is that cities which are less mature are the ones which are maturing the fastest, meaning that ICT, the use of ICT, the performance of the infrastructure and also the affordability of services are improving the most in the least developed cities. There are two reasons to that. One is that ICT is such a compelling offer at individual levels, so people are very, very eager to embrace this technology and to use it in their daily activities, in their daily life, both for basic communication but also for all kinds of new, more advanced services. And that happens increasingly then in the less developed economies. The second is that maybe there are increasing challenges for the more mature economies as ICT, the sort of transformative aspects of ICT are starting to challenge a little bit of the current ways which things are done. One part of this work is the statistical, when we are collecting all the information and data, but another part of the report is when we are sort of reviewing, I would say, the recent reports and recent scientific case studies, etc., that's been published. And when you put that together, we see three strong change drivers, and from there we can talk about three predictions for cities. We are predicting that people are going to be much more in charge of how cities develop, both from the innovation that they do, but also in terms of how they contribute into the running of cities. The second thing we are predicting is that GDP, as I think the key performance indicator in economic dimension of how city performs, is going to be reformed. With ICT comes much more of a reuse logic, much more of a sharing logic, much more of a collaboration logic. And those aspects are not really captured in a very good way in GDP. So GDP needs to be reformed to capture sort of the new opportunities that ICT brings to a much more vivid and new aspects of growth in the economy. And thirdly, we are predicting then that ICT will change quite dramatically the way in which organizations look like and the way in which organization works. And I think the key reason for that is that you can today collaborate across organizations and between people in such a fundamentally more easy way than you could in the past. So you don't need organizations for the same purpose as we used in the past. You can do things much more flexibly and much more agile through the means of ICT. I think there's very little question about that ICT is an increasingly important, should I say, infrastructure in a city. If we think of roads and buildings, etc., ICT is a bit more invisible in the sense that you can't really see it when you're walking around in the city. But it's a very, very important infrastructure, and that is an infrastructure where Ericsson obviously is providing a very, very important part of that. I mean, if you look at the mobile ICT infrastructure and you look at the 100 biggest cities in the world, seen from an economic definition, you would note that Ericsson holds by far the largest share of that infrastructure, providing that infrastructure. We are in fact twice the size of our closest competitor. So I think that we are both providing the infrastructure as well as looking at how that infrastructure can now be put into practice and into use in more transformative ways that changes cities. Not just from doing a bit better with the same models, but also changing the models in how cities work.